The second story we're going to be reading from our Goodnight Storybook is The Spooky Sleepover from Monsters, Inc. It was a quiet morning at Monsters Incorporated. James P. Sullivan was looking over the monthly laugh reports. Sully was the president of Monsters Incorporated. Suddenly, the phone rang. "Hello?" Sully said. "It's Dispatch," said the voice on the other end of the line. "Annual slumber party at Little Shannon Brown's house. Waxford is out sick. We need a replacement." Sully thought about who he could send. He wanted to put his best monster on the case. He smiled to himself. Who better for the job than his friend Mike Wazowski? Mike could make anyone laugh. He was the top laugh collector at Monsters Incorporated. Sully knew his best friend would be the perfect choice. Mike was in the locker room getting ready for work when Sully walked in and explained the situation. "I'm your man," Mike said confidently. "Great," Sully exclaimed. Whistling, he went back to his office to finish laugh reports. "A room full of kids. Collecting laughs will be a piece of cake," Mike said as the door slid onto his station on the laugh floor. Mike opened the door and walked through the closet in Shannon Brown's room. It was empty. "Hello?" Mike called. He looked around and peeked under the bed, but there was no one there. Just as Mike started walking towards the closet, he heard laughter. "All right, now we're talking," Mike said. "Kids, prepare to roll with laughter." Just then, a flash of lightning lit up the dark room, and thunder cracked across the sky. Mike jumped. If there was one thing that scared him, it was thunderstorms. Job or no job, he was getting out of there. Mike raced back to the closet, but when he opened the door, he was standing in a normal closet. Not the laugh floor. Mike realized that the lightning must have broken the door. He knew that he needed to find the slumber party and another closet door fast. Heading into the dark hallway, Mike tried to follow the sound of laughter. The floor creaked spookily beneath him. Mike stopped and looked around. The wall was covered in creepy paintings of people, and they all seemed to be staring right at him. "I've got to get out of here," Mike muttered to himself. Then he saw something scary that made him freeze in his tracks. Sitting at the end of the hall was a large, furry creature with fangs. Thinking the creature was a fellow monster, Mike started to walk closer, relieved. Suddenly, the creature jumped on him, knocking him down. It wasn't a monster. It was a dog. "Ah!" Mike screamed. He hated dogs. Mike pushed the dog off him and ran into a nearby room. He slammed the door shut. He was safe. For now. Meanwhile, Sully was working on the laugh floor. "Sully, Sully!" the floor manager shouted, running over. "Mike still hasn't returned from the slumber party." When Sully checked the door, he found it wasn't working. Mike was trapped. Sully didn't like the idea of Mike being stuck in Shannon's house. He needed to fix the door now. He quickly brought in a maintenance crew together. The monsters tried to get the door open properly, but nothing worked. Sully and the monsters decided to try getting into Shannon's house using a new door. Finally, it made a clicking sound. It worked. Now the door would open into a different room in the house. Back at the house, Mike opened the door. It led to a bathroom. As Mike searched for a light switch, he tripped on a rubber yellow ducky. "Ouch!" he said, and he went rolling across the floor like a ball. Finally, Mike crashed into the wall and came to a stop. Suddenly, he heard giggling from down the hall. Mike did not like this assignment or this house, but as long as he was stuck here, he was determined to find the party. Lifting himself off the floor, he followed the laughter to a door. But when he opened it, the room was quiet. Slowly, Mike entered the dark room. All of a sudden, a light went on. Mike jumped. Shannon Brown and all of her friends roared with laughter. They thought Mike looked funny sneaking into their room. Mike was so scared he couldn't stop yelling. At that moment, the closet door opened and Sully burst into the room. When he heard Mike screaming, he started screaming too. Mike jumped up into Sully's arms. The girls at the slumber party laughed even harder. A big blue monster with purple spots hugging a one-eyed little green monster was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Mike and Sully smiled at each other. Then Mike jumped onto the floor, and they both took a bow. The kids cheered. Looks like our work here is done, Sully said with a smile. He and Mike headed through the closet door and back to the laugh floor. They filled so many canisters with laughs that Mike was named the top laugh collector that day. I was never scared for a second, Mike said, hoping Sully would believe him. Me neither, buddy, Sully replied, his big furry fingers crossed behind his back. Me neither. So one of the books that we'll be reading tomorrow is Nighttime of Fires from Big Hero 6. I hope you enjoyed reading a story from Mike and Sully and Monsters Incorporated. Have a great day. Bye.